Hello, welcome to Wednesday of the 6th week of Easter. This Sunday we'll begin celebrating more of the Easter mystery with the Feast of the Ascension. But for today, the psalmist says this as our refrain: Heaven and earth are full of your glory. Heaven and earth are full of your glory. I don't know about for you, but if I had to, in a moment, list off 5 or the top 10 places I have seen God's glory, I'm not sure I'm as equipped to do that as I would wish I would be. In fact, I find that I only begin to see the glory of God in life if I find myself in the habit of quiet in the classroom of silence, as Matthew Kelly says, listening to the Word of God and listening to what's going on in my life. If I'm too busy and rushed, I do not see. And perhaps what diminishes the glory of God even more, in addition to me not being quiet enough and looking enough for it, is that I forget to tell others about it, about where I have come to experience the glory of God. That is at the heart and soul of what it means to become a disciple. Today in the Acts of the Apostles, as Paul was on many of his trips, he went to Greece and he was in Athens, in an outside place called the Areopagus. And this is what he said to the people at that time. I proclaim to you, the God who made the world and all that is in it, the Lord of heaven and earth, does not dwell in sanctuaries made by human hands, nor is he served by human hands because he needs anything. Rather, it is he who gives to life breath and everything. He made from one the whole human race to dwell on the entire surface of the earth, and he fixed the ordered seasons and the boundaries of their regions so that people might seek God, even perhaps grope for him and find him, though indeed he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as even some of your poets have said, for we too are his offspring. Since therefore we are the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the divinity is like an image fashioned from gold, silver, or stone by human art and imagination. We are God's offspring. So very often we probably don't even think about that. And these days I've been pondering all kinds of things, but of late I found myself going back to my college days in basketball, and our coach in that time was Father Russell Becker. He was the head of the athletics, a Latin teacher, just a wonderful priest. His style of coaching was very different from my high school coach. He was a little more laid back. And he would often be quoted as, say, so now boys, let's do this or do that. And I remember my freshman year playing one of my first games, maybe it was even the very first game. And I was sort of pressured or anxious starting as a freshman in college with all the upperclassmen that were on the team. Because there were many good basketball players, or they were doing just fine before I came. And the game was tied, or we were down by 1 with probably less than 20, 30 seconds left. And of course, the good coach calls a timeout. And I go over to the huddle and say, thank God, he's not going to give me the ball. He's going to give it to one of the other good players. And he drew up a play that somehow I was supposed to get the ball at the top of the key and shoot it. And I did, and we won. I'm amazed that he would have even thought of giving me the ball in my first year. He would go on to say, that as I do, the team will probably do as well. And so in a sense, he really watched over me. I, if you will, was one of his people that he gave life to, because he believed in me and he hoped in me and he trusted me. Even when I was having bad games, he would still continue to trust and believe in me and respect me and care for me. So, heaven and earth are full of God's glory. Another experience this last weekend, as you know, Deacon Patrick is no longer Deacon Patrick. He is called Father Patrick. He was one of the 4 men from our diocese who was ordained. And also a classmate of his was Justin Weber. And Justin is someone that grew up in my home parish. In fact, he is the first member of the parish to be ordained since I was back in 1976. And months ago, he invited me to be a part of that great celebration, which is usually filling the cathedral, but that was before the pandemic came. And so I figured, well, I'll watch from home like everyone else. But then I got a call and said that they would allow me to come, and so that I could participate in the ritual with him. And there's the ritual of taking off his deacon's stole and providing him the stole and elbow of a priest. And then I also had the privilege of laying hands on him and Patrick and their 2 classmates. And that was such a sacred, I call it like a burning bush moment, when I had a chance to sort of look back to what happened back for me in 1976 and how my life has been changed by that gift of priesthood and by the privilege, if you will, of sending forth those who will be new to serve the Church of Milwaukee. And one of the other things about Justin that made it such a very tender, special moment, we are related. Not only is he the first son of the parish to be ordained for me since 1976, but my father's mother, his grandfather's mother, were both sisters, and so they both have had families from which priests have come. And then those sisters, two sisters, had another sister. And she gave birth to a woman, Sister Ruth, who is now a nun. And so those three women from many, many years ago have children who have come to serve the church in a very specific and special way as priests and members of a religious community of women. Heaven and earth are full of your glory. Sometimes it takes time to sit back and listen and look, and then to share the amazement and the humbleness of God being in your life and God being in the life of people who are near and far. And so for that, I am immensely grateful for these special moments that have come up, for people who believe in me and respect me and trust me even when I'm not at my best. Being part of the offspring of God means we indeed are incredibly special. So may you continue to search and discover, and then by all means share where you have come to know how God is in your life. A couple things for Holy Apostles. One, as you hopefully have heard, beginning on Wednesday, today, confessions will be held from 5:30 to 6:30 rather than Saturday. They will be held in the Welcome Center in the Timothy Room. It'll allow for more space and better circulation. As you now know, the Adoration Chapel is open from 6:30 in the morning to 8 p.m. at night. It allows for 6 people safely to be in that space. And as you know, we are preparing for Catholic comeback on the Feast of Pentecost, May 30th and 31st. And things will be really different when we come back into the space as we work to be safe. And so following this, there will be a video that Jeff and I created along with the help of Matt. So listen carefully and thoughtfully think whether if it's prudent for you to come back and pray with us. By all means, join us for our streaming Mass at 9:15. You know, last Sunday we had some technical demons that came. At 9 o'clock everything worked well, but at 9:14 it didn't work well. So thanks for your patience. Hopefully you joined in for that as well. Thanks for joining us here for this Wednesday. Be safe, and may God bless you. Hello. It is good to be with you. We're preparing for the Catholic comeback on May 30th and 31st, and as you know, it'll be wonderful to come back, but there will certainly be some changes that we'll have to get used to for safety, and also for acknowledging that we're going to be at 25% occupancy. So let's talk about a couple of things. First of all, when the doors are open on the outside, that means we're ready to receive you on the inside. So don't bother to get out of your cars and stand in lines outside until the doors are open. Between the Masses, that allows our staff to sanitize all the spaces in our worship space. So again, please wait in your cars until the outside doors are open. And we're only going to have 4 ways to enter into our worship space. The one is on the west side of the parking lot. The other is in the National Avenue entrance. And behind me, to the lobby of the parish center, there's a north door and a west door. Those will be the ways that you're able to come into worship that day. When you come in, the outside doors will be open, as I said, and as you approach the inside doors of the church over here, or National Avenue, or over on the west side, I'd like to set the stage for you like this. You know, when you go out for a special meal, you come into a place, there's someone there to greet you, and then someone comes and takes you to your seat. Well, we're coming back here for a really, really special, incredible meal to share at the Lord's table, and so we're going to sort of present that way as something for you to consider. So when you come into these 3 entrances, there will be someone there to greet you. Again, try to give 6 feet space between the person in front of you. And then someone will come and seat you, if you will, whether it's for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, so that we can appropriately find a way for you to be seated. So that's the first thing. And be aware that your seat will probably not be available because not all pews will be able to be used as we go with 25% occupancy. So let me give you a little bit of a sample of what that will look like over here on the east side. You see we have 1 parishioner here already, and a lot of others that have joined him. So when you look at a pew section, notice first of all that down the center there's a 6 feet space to make sure that people on either side of the pew are in safe. And then one of the things you will notice is that 2 pews are roped off where no one will be seated to give that 6 feet of space. And so you will find lines 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 5 pews that we will be able to use in this section, and similarly all the way across. So this is where our greeters, if you will, from our hospitality team, as they receive you from this door, or the National Avenue door, or the West door, as they receive you, then they will then find an appropriate sizing to fit you, because you can see some places will fit 1. This pew could take everybody, 3 there, 2 there. So it's really hard to imagine how we're going to do this. So your patience will be really important. And if you come at the very last minute, or we don't know when, and you find the outside doors closed, that means we're probably at capacity and beginning to fill the leftover or the overflow space to the Welcome Center. So we're going to fill this space first, 1 section at a time. And then we'll begin to move people to the Welcome Center. When that's full, we'll be at capacity, and we're not able to ask to have any more people come in. We can't have people standing around. So that's going to be a part of the really difficult, challenging piece for us all. You may have heard that we will not be able to take up a collection. So these wood boxes, which are at all the entrances, this will be where our offertory collection will be placed. We ask that as you come in or as you leave, you would place your donation or contribution into this box. We're so grateful for that generosity. So again, we don't have to pass baskets or anything else. One of the other things that will be different for us is communion. We will have 1 communion minister for these 2 pews, 1 for the 2 center pews, and 1 for those, and 1 for the people if we have overflow into the Welcome Center. Now again, in order to create safety, I want to tell you a little bit about how this will go. So in this section, you notice there is a hand sanitizer. As you come up, this will be 6 feet away from where I or the Eucharistic minister are standing, so that as you're preparing to come forward, you'll have an opportunity to sanitize your hands. And in this situation, we're only going to take a half of the pew of the time. So what's going to happen if we do this half, the person will come and receive communion from me here and walk all the way around this way and back to their pew. So they're not being close to people. And when this section is finished, then we will begin serving this section, and there'll be hand sanitizer here as well. And so they will come and walk all the way around. So we're going to ask Mr. Honore to sort of give us an example of that. So he's up for communion, and there'll be spots 6 feet away. So he will do hand sanitizing. And then I will probably be over here, body of Christ. And so the reason for walking around is that we're not creating contaminated areas in the center of the pews. And so when this half's done, we go to this half, and when this section's finished, then we go over to this half, right over here. And again, all the ministers will have to move in rhythm. So person in the center aisle here can't go to this aisle until I'm finished with this. And then I move over here. So it's our way to keep people safe. In the Welcome Center, the minister of communion will come to the people because there'll be chairs and more space to walk between. There'll be chairs two together for people to be seated there. The other thing is that it's so unnatural when we come back together. The one thing we really want to do is to be with each other, but we are not to create social experiences or gathering other than to invite you to walk out to your cars. So on the west side of the parking lot will happen, the hospitality people will invite you to leave one row at a time from the back, so there's no congestion in the pews. So one row at the back. And this section over here, because you're coming through those doors, we'll begin from the front rows, one section at a time, to allow people to leave so that we don't bunch up and get into social, and we can't sustain social distancing. And we ask you to leave quickly, not because we don't like you or care about you or love you, but because our maintenance team needs to come in to be able to sanitize for the next service. So, all eager to come back, but there will be some changes again. Only 4 doors to come in, and consider that you're coming to a very special meal, which you are. And there will be someone here to greet you and welcome you, and then we ask that you wait until someone comes to provide a seating that's appropriate for you, and whether you're 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people, whatever it is. And again, we ask for your graciousness as we begin to fill one section at a time. The outside doors will be closed, and then we'll begin to move any extra people that are coming in to the Welcome Center as their overflow. And when we meet that capacity, for right now, as we come back, we will be at capacity and we'll have to close our doors. So again, please wait in your cars until the outside doors are open. And consider prudently, if you are of a kind that you are, first of all, healthy. If you're an at-risk person, 65 and older, please consider prudently if you should be coming back. If you're not well, by all means, join us for live streaming at 9:15. And again, you know the obligation to attend Sunday Mass has been suspended for us by the Archbishop until the beginning of July. So we are eager to come back to pray, but we need to do it differently. So again, as you come, we appreciate your flexibility and understanding. And maybe someone else is sitting in your pew, or maybe no one can sit in your pew because of the space we have to give. So thank you, be well, be safe, and thanks for praying with us.